Okay, we're live. So welcome to our REDFeather Mind, Body, Spirit Facebook Live event. I'm Christopher McClure, and today we have a very special guest, Daniel Loeb, who is most recently the creator of Rota Mundi Tarot, the Rosicrucian Arcanum. We wanted to catch up today to learn more about this amazing deck. It's incredible. It really is. I mean, I've been living with it for the last few days, and it's just, I can't put it down. Anyway, so we'll get into that in a second. So learn more about the deck and what's ahead. But first, a little background on Daniel. Daniel Loeb is a scholar, occult author, and spiritual mentor who wrote under the pseudonym D.W. Prudence while working in public service. He retired after serving 20 years in the U.S. Air Force and is now a full-time author and instructor on topics related to Kabbalah, alchemy, and the tarot. He graduated from the Hypnosis Training Center Institute of Central California in 1994 and from the Therapeutic Learning Center School of Massage in 1997 and earned his bachelor's degree in psychology in 2002 and master's degree in 2008. Boy, that's a lot of degrees. My goodness. Yeah. I feel honored. Loeb has instructed hypnotherapy certification courses internationally and worked as a hypnotherapist in private practice and as a tarot reader as well. In 2018, he authored The Alchemistic Woodcut Tarot, The Secret Wisdom of the Ages, and for the past 9 years, he's volunteered as a victim advocate in sexual assault prevention and response and has served 10 years as a law enforcement officer. He believes in peace, justice, and freedom, and has placed his life at risk many times to ensure safety and the rights of strangers. Loeb is a Jewish family name of German descent, and it means lion, and it's a reference to the tribe of Judah. Kabbalah and Rosicrucianism are part of his blood, and have been a focus of his studies for many years. His unique life experiences and his Jewish, Christian, and occult background have enabled him to interact with diverse cultures and gain a unique perspective on mysticism and human behavior. He's a husband and father of 4. He presents, the present goal is to aid others in understanding the mystical concepts he's a passion for and to empower his readers to their own spiritual endeavors. I'm inspired already. Thank you. So wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
How are things in Iowa right now?
It's great. It's beautiful out here.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love your background in there too. It gets the mood. It's way better than mine. Yeah. So I thought the Alchemistic Woodcut Tarot, your first deck with us, with REDFeather and Schiffer, was remarkable, and I'm so impressed by this new one. And so I really want the audience to learn more about you and this deck and how it came into being. So I guess really, there's so many questions. I try to hard to compartmentalize everything, but all right, we'll start with tarot. How did you get into tarot originally? We'll start with that.
Well, for my bio, I started out with hypnotherapy, and that's when I started exploring how your subconscious mind works and interacts with your conscious mind. And from there, I went into a ideomotor response and using pendulums to extract information out of your subconscious, which is basically just divination. And then that led into the tarot, which mixed with my religious pursuits and stuff into mysticism. And I mean, that's what I've been trying to do over the past few decades is put all the information together of mixing psychology with religion, with spirituality, with divination, and the occult practices and stuff that people have studied, kind of secretly or below the mainstream for hundreds of years.
Oh yeah, it's really interesting. You mentioned how those practices were in secret, or for those who were ready to receive them, or veiled, and that's a big part of Rosicrucianism as well, and why it existed. Why it does exist. So I guess, and the funny thing is, it seems as though the acceptance of these kinds of things is really blossoming. Really, I would say is all over. We've seen it. I'm sure you've seen it as well. That there are more, especially over the last year or so. It's really exploded. People looking for answers. People looking for new perspectives, different perspectives, and deeper perspectives as well. Which is why I think the Rota Mundi is coming along at a perfect time. And when we talked earlier too, before the program here, this book. I got to start with our book on this. It is, an amazing standalone book for someone who wants to learn about all of these topics, or just get a glimpse into, Rosicrucianism, Kabbalah, tarot, alchemy, all these different elements too are kind of just packed into here, and you get a deck with it then. I mean, on top, actually a workable deck. too. So how did the Rota Mundi then come into being? What really inspired you to create it? I mean, I think you've kind of touched on that a little bit already.
Yeah, well, the first deck with you guys is the alchemistic woodcut tarot. That's a lot of the same concepts of exploring the secret wisdom of the ages that people have had and me trying to understand it. But I think that deck is written from more of a scholarly perspective of kind of like more encyclopedial, that here is this and then information about it, where the Rota Mundi Tarot goes into a deeper thing where the alchemistic woodcut tarot kind of like opens you up and gives an overview of the philosophies. The Rota Mundi gets right into like the deep of it and explains the mysticism behind it and more of like what I practice in my understanding of the concepts instead of just these things exist,
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think really that's really what keeps getting hammered home for me when I go back to this book. I brought it into the imprint here and everything, and now seeing the finished work too, you really can take your time with it and just meditate on it. Really, I mean, there's so much good information throughout here too. I have a lot of dog ears and scribbles and too many to count now. And that's my second passing through it. So I'm sure there will be more. I literally I was saying to myself as I'm reading it, I'm like, boy, I got to read this again once I finish. So that's a testament to what you really brought together. And the neat thing is too, I mean, there's so many neat things. I'm really having a hard time containing myself with this because I was excited to talk to you about these things. And so we would have probably 5 or 6 different, episodes probably of this. But for this, one of the things that really was remarkable to me was how many references you made to a variety of things, like just different passages from the Bible, and just very, very well researched and backed up by different elements from the different traditions as well. And so you've been studying. How long have you been studying the esoteric and occult? Then it's
probably about 30 years, something like that. But throughout the book, I've got my philosophy of solvet coagula, extracting what is good, which is like alchemy, that you take the purified or the essential oil out of the plant and disregard the garbage, basically. So that's what I've kind of been doing with all of my spiritual pursuits over the decades, is looking at finding the pieces of these things and trying to find the connections between everything and synthesize it and condense it so that I could have all the pieces of the puzzles in one place and see where all the connections match up to each other. So as I wrote these, it's not like I just didn't sit down and just type up stuff as, all in one sitting. It's all each card I would be meditating on and exploring the philosophy for months or years, or accumulating everything I've thought about it for, decades, and then focus on that and just write that card. So if you're going from card to card, I mean, some of them could be I spent months on one particular area, and then the next thing is a whole other dedication of lots of time and lots of exploration of the concept. So that's what I was trying to do, is to have it not just read it's all done in one sitting, but just exploring, the chapters on alchemy, it tells you everything about alchemy, and the chapters on Kabbalah tells you all about Kabbalah.
Exactly.
That you explore those things, that it's not just a quick summary, but you could just look at this chapter and it could just be a book on alchemy from, at least for a few pages of it.
That's what I was about to say. I was thinking to myself, boys, if I want to go back and get a refresher on, alchemy, I'm going to go back to your book.
Yeah.
Or if I'm going to go back, I'm not going to go to a separate book. It's I'll just go back to this because it's all here. Yeah. The same with the other things that I mentioned as well. And then you can tell really just the care that goes into the cards then as well. You have keywords I've never seen. So you have the letter, the meaning, the intelligence, the path, the attribute, the number, the traits. So it's not your average keywords that you'll see adventure or new beginnings, something like that. This is for someone who really wants to enhance their journey. I mean, really enhance their journey. you know, in a deep way. And that's really, and then every card is given that care. And so I'm, you know, I think I'm amazed it took you just as little time as it did.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you're saying is that you just sat down at the typewriter? Of course not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, you could spend, you know, years just on the majors, years and years, you know, and this is the full deck here. So, I mean, within creating this, then what did you really enjoy, I guess, most in creating this particular deck from other projects you've worked on?
Well, I think it's just the concentration of it. You know, it is like hours or days and weeks spending on just like a single topic of thinking about things. And I'll study things and then I'll go to bed and wake up early and just lay in bed thinking about stuff. And as I go running or anything, I'll, you know, explore concepts and then try and see how they fit in the world and everything. I mean, it's just kind of like dealing with my conscious and subconscious and understanding symbolism. So, I mean, that's what I enjoy, is just learning all this stuff. I mean, obviously, I'm interested in those topics, is why, you know, I put so much devotion and thought into it. And it, you know, it represents my understanding of the world and stuff. So, how I've seen all the cards and the symbolisms and the different philosophies, you know, they've affected me and influenced me, and I see them at work within the world. So it's not like I just put something together. These pictures look neat, but I think that they're meaningful and, you know, personal. So it's what, you know, I enjoyed about creating it.
That's great. And you really do emphasize a lot of times within this that about the personal journey. You know, once someone has gone through the chemical wedding, and I wanted you to maybe describe a little bit about that first. And they, you know, they are in tune with the spirit, and then that taking that journey, and within every reading, it's going to be radically different depending on their spots in the journeys and things like that. And it's really just all interwoven together, and you do a beautiful job of interweaving it, really, so that by the time you're done with this book, you really understand and have the strength to know that yes, you have it is your journey and you should own it, and enjoy it. You know, because we're all just, you know, learning, and everyone's on that path. Everyone who is engaged is on that path, and also to respect others' places on the path, right? As they walk along, and you know, and just help them along, and that kind of, it just really comes through so magnificently through this. You know, really. So it's so why really do you feel it's like an important deck for like students of the tarot? Could you explain like why you think that really is then?
Well, what I did unique about this is I explored the 32 passive wisdom first, which is like what the Kabbalah is built up. And I'm looking at the tarot from the Rosicrucian tradition on how the Rosicrucians first had their oracle, which was called the Rota Mundi. And then Eliphas Levi like expanded on it, and then it passed down through the different Rosicrucian orders until AEW put it all together in the Rider-Waite Tarot deck.
Right.
So I tried to what all those different like keywords on the major arcana. I have the Rider-Waite deck, or the card from the Rider-Waite deck on there, and then I show the different attributes that are linked to the Cabal and the Sefer Yetzirah and different aspects of the mysticism that are all put in there, and I try to show where the card fits on the Kabbalah and how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together so that people could understand it. So I made it not just as this is another tarot deck, but as like a learning deck. So you could go through and learn the first 32 passive wisdom, and then it goes into the Pinnacles deck, explores different geometrical shapes within the Kabbalah. And then I have the suit of cups covers like alchemy and more of the chemical wedding type stuff. And then the final suit explores Pappas is procedure for reading cards, like reading tarot cards without any pictures on them. So like you could read playing cards and stuff. So it's like it tries to teach you the pattern so you could get any deck of cards, just like regular playing cards or anything, and then be able to read tarot. And then I also have it that it explains all the Kabbalah and how the tarot fits into the different pieces as it developed over the years through like the occult practices. And then even those cards are still named with the suit of wands that explore the 10 different sephiroth of the Kabbalah, but it's also just a suit of wands, so you can use it like a regular tarot deck, but it's also a learning deck that it consolidates like all the secret wisdom of the ages. But unlike the alchemistic woodcut tarot that goes through magic and just explores different aspects of the secret wisdom, this one's focused on the Rosicrucian tradition and how it evolved through those Rosicrucians and like later the Golden Dawn and stuff that followed through them as they developed the occult aspects of the tarot, which the tarot also went on its other way where it was through like divination only, but it explores how they put the mysticism and the occult traits into the tarot.
Right, exactly. So yeah, you have that treatment of the history, which is also quite thorough. And what it's interesting to me is that some people might look at this deck and say, oh, well, that's or say it's a beginning tarot student might look at that like this, like, wow, that's way beyond where I want to start. But actually, it's not. And I would argue that actually this is a perfect starting deck from my perspective, just because you are so thorough in your treatments of the subject. You know, even going into different spreads and even like the whys. So like why tarot, how it works, those kinds of things. I mean, all those things are given a thorough treatment, in here. So it's actually the perfect place to start. Versus, they think, oh no, I'm not advanced, I'll just pick up this little one and I'll just pick up this niche deck and with, I don't know, with Smurfs on it, and I'll start there, right? Whatever. But I'm not sure where I came from. But anyway, but yeah, no, I think it really, if someone wants to learn the right way, and you go into like myths and superstitions or those kinds of things, even within in your treatment of the history and just how it's grown up around it, really, and even the ethics of it's all really dealt with here. It's really something else. So now a key to this, there's so many keys to this really, but I wanted to, if you wouldn't mind indulging me a little bit more about the chemical wedding, because it really is kind of a foundational thing. There are a couple concepts that are kind of foundational to this. So what is that really about? If you could explain like how that aids in the journey, or how that works.
And so the chemical wedding is it's within the field of alchemy, and so that's why I have that whole chapter on alchemy that explains the physical processes of alchemy, on how the physical processes work, because then you could understand the symbolical means of it.
Yeah, just to interject for a second. Even down to the distillation process, you actually have different kinds of distillation processes in here, how they work, which is key to understanding. I'm sorry, which is just as I'm looking through, it's like he actually even has distiller. Anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah, so you'll start out with it's basically alchemy is a metaphor of your own spiritual purification of your soul, and we start out by comparing like your body to the body of a plant. And once you chop up the plant and stuff, then you grind it up into as small pieces as you can, and then you put it in the apparatus to extract the essence out of it. And to do that, you use a solvent, which is usually like comes out of grapes and stuff. It's the alcohol, the ethanol, and you'll boil the ethanol and it'll go through the plant and it'll extract the essence out of it, which would be considered in alchemy the sulfur of the soul. And the universal solvent is an external factor of spirit, is why we call alcohol spirits and stuff. So it's basically like uniting with the spirit, or getting indwelled with like the Holy Spirit to purify your soul and begin your spiritual journey and spiritual unfoldment. So for the Rosicrucians, they follow like Kabbalistic thought of the Holy Spirit being female and the divine feminine. So they see it as the red king would represent Adam, who is supposed to be made out of red clay, and the word Adam means red. And uniting with the white queen, which they see as the Shekinah or the Aurora or Alchemia in within the chemical wedding of Christian Rosenkreuz. And it's about uniting your soul with the spirit, with the Holy Spirit to start purifying you. And it's compared to the alchemical process of the spirit or the ethyl alcohol extracting the essential oil out of the plant. And then afterwards, you burn the plant to purify it with fire, and then they'll put it all back together to form a stone, which you don't come out with the exact same product, that you don't restore the same life to the plant, but you have a purified version of it that's in a stone, kind of like how you make concrete by mixing water in with it to make it into a stone-like substance. But you have a purified spirit, sulfur, and mercury, or body, mind, and spirit put back in there to be a new creation that comes out the other side. So it's mainly uniting yourself with the divine, but it's also talking about like the balance of the male and female polarities within you and finding balance within yourself. And both Kabbalah and alchemy have those same concepts, where Kabbalah has the Shekinah, which is like the divine feminine also, and it has 3 different pillars, and it's all about uniting the male and female aspects of yourself, of contemplation and doing things, and your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind expresses it to us in symbolism. So whether it's reading cards or understanding, abstract concepts, it's the symbolism of our subconscious dealing with the analytical portions of our conscious mind that make up who we are. And it's all about finding the correct balance between those, and balancing your spirituality and what you contemplate and think about and care about with what you do in the physical world, where you're going out and interacting with people and going to the mall or Applebee's or something like that, with putting something holy and powerful into the mundane, and as we exist and try and discover where we are and where our place is in the universe. So one of the things I wanted to do about this is I didn't want to make a book that says this is the dogma to believe. That's what I wanted to make sure that I'm trying to walk the fine line of explaining. This is one way that you could read tarot cards based on Paphos's pattern and show like all the different options to you, so that a beginning reader could get this and have a thorough understanding of how the tarot developed and different ways of interpreting it, and how it works psychologically or how it works spiritually, and then different practices. But I don't want to try and say this is the right way, this is what this card means. I want to try to get past the point of, well, here's some information about it and like symbolism that's buried within it, but I want to try and empower people to make up their own mind, so that, as you said, when you do reading, the card can mean it's something completely different every time. And I think that's a big aspect of mysticism, is that it's not dogma. It's not something that somebody says this letter means this or this card means this, and your job is to memorize what that person says. It's about trying to explore ourselves and explore our symbolism and how we process symbolism and come up with ideas. So, that's something I wanted to do, is put all the information out there so that people could have it and then decide what they like and what works for them, where they're at in their path, because we're not all at the same spot, and
exactly, right,
we got to figure out where we are.
And that's that comes in again, through very clearly throughout this. You put the information out there, and you don't say it's the definitive way, and you recognize and honor that people want to be on their own journey through this too. And even with the cards themselves, I have a bunch, like I said, I have a bunch of scribbles and things, and that I really got a lot out of even just the history of the tarot reading process. going into different areas of how what some think, what some of the myths are. Is it spirits moving the card? Are they alive? Are they, is it the ideomotor response? Is it, what is it, right? And so some of these lines, like the cards, are really just means to stimulate the reader's creativity and start exploring possibilities. That is like it's like the essence. If someone wants to like just pick these up, if nothing else, to stimulate that creativity, to get the ball rolling, to be a heuristic then for possibilities, right? And things like that, to look at things in a different way, even taking out of the mystical side. I mean, and if you want to bring that side in, that you can, and there's a lot you can, clearly. But even on that basic level, like what is it? Why does it work? Why can it work? That's why I say this is, I think, a really excellent primer for anyone who wants to start somewhere and learn their own process and make the cards their own, too, and really understand the tarot thoroughly. I think it's the perfect vehicle, to do that, really. So yeah, thank you. So it's really a gift. I think this tarot is a gift for anyone who picks it up. And so it's just I can't say good enough about it. So yourself, then, do you read tarot a lot? Do you how do you use it? How do you use it yourself?
Well, I mean, as I wrote the book and stuff, it's just lots of contemplation on it. But I mean, there's so much information in it that I'll go back and explore the cards and just look at them. And I mean, like you said, each card you could just meditate on.
Right.
A lot of people do daily card draws to just what you look at or want to think about that day, and you could do that and then explore the concepts throughout the day. Because I mean, basically what tarot is you do the reading and you make like a parable of what's going on in your life, and you just make a random abstract story, and then based on that story you try to fit the metaphor into your life and try to learn something positive of it. And everything's symbolic of each other, and we have analogies connecting all the different aspects of our life. So I mean, if you're looking for that, you can try to understand things as you go. And so for reading tarot cards, I'm in a lot of I'll hang out like on Facebook groups and stuff, and people are always reading cards. And I think that just reading cards is a separate practice than mysticism. And it's about to stimulate your creativity and trying to kind of like solving puzzles, that you have these things and you could read them based on, I have these meanings that I have assigned to these cards, or you could look at the symbolism on the cards, or you could look at the pictures on the cards and be like, in this thing, the person on this card's looking at this person, or they're looking the other way. And people will ask questions like, does this person like me? And they'll have like two cards facing different directions back to back or something. And you're like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's how you interpret symbolism. It's basically you're extracting your intuition and your creativity out of your subconscious and trying to pass that information to your conscious mind. And that you communicate through symbolism, and whether it's how you're interpreting the picture, if this is how these people are looking, or you just get the feeling, or whatever jogs your mind, But there's so much information in each of the cards that they can be read, hundreds of ways each. So it's whatever, when you pull out the card at that time, what it stimulates in you is the answer. And a lot of it is just trying to learn how to use your own mind and recognize what your subconscious is expressing to you and process it consciously. I mean, it's kind of like what I started out with hypnosis, of trying to interweave the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and see how they talk and get wholeness, and that's what everything seems to be about, is balancing out, just that balance of the subjective and the objective, and finding the right balance, to be happy too.
Right, exactly. And that goes back into what I talked about earlier as far as the ethics are concerned. And, you make really good points. It's like, if you're just giving advice based off these memorized meanings or something, it could be horrible advice, just because, to be quite frank, right? It's like, yes, no answers are very rare, right? And so there are more sympathies to it. I mean, you have a great treatment of you have a 3-card spread in here. It's the Star, it's the Page of Wands, and it's the 5 of Wands. You know, and the question was, you know, does this guy like me from a querent? You know, and even based on that, it's like, okay, he's not facing you, so there's that. And then okay, so maybe he wants to just, you know, interact more with his friends or something, or he sees as a, so that, I mean, just all those little nuances within there. It's going to depend not only on what the reader is feeling, but I think what's really important too is you are an advocate of the querent being an active part of the reading. You know, because there's so much information that you know, it's like the difference between like, okay, well, do you know this person actually, or have you just seen them across the hall or across the coffee shop, right? So like, you know, what's the actual situation there, and so you have to have all of those different nuances, and so then that stimulates something, you know, for the querent. It helps the reader as well, and all of that, and so it all kind of like works, you know, together. It works together, whether you're doing yourself or, you know, for others as well. So that's some really good perspectives to have for sure. So that's it. You know, it's a useful tool just for that.
It's their life, so they'll have the best instincts about it and the most intuition and background information on it. You know, so when they come to you, then you're just there you're going to have your basic short introduction with them and interaction that can stimulate some stuff in your subconscious mind or your intuition about the person that you just met, but they're going to know it, you know, way more about the situation than you are anyway. So what they're coming to you for is you're both exploring the cards together to try to understand the concept, and the more background information they gave to the reader, it would be easier for you to interpret it. You know, like if you know their background and you're trying to interpret their dream, then you could make sense of it pretty easy. But if they don't want to share, you know, they'll still get something from the reading by just watching you, because they might not want to share what's on their mind, but they're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense, you know.
Exactly.
But I mean, when it comes down to it, it is up to them to have buy-in with it or decide if the reading's worth anything. So the more they get into it, the better. You know, I've worked with like the psychic hotlines and stuff like 20 years ago and stuff. And you just get call after call, and you'll get people that watch just movies and stuff and think that psychics know everything and had some distorted view and be like, so I want to know, do you know what my cousin's first name is? And then you're like, what? And they're like, you're not a psychic and stuff. And you're like, that's not how it works. You know, it's your psychic is talking about your psyche, that it is the analysis, your soul or your mind, you know, and being a psychic is being a mind user. And everybody has these abilities. Everybody has intuition. And what we're just trying to do is harness that and make sense of it. So when people come for readings, they usually already know the answers and just haven't like accepted it consciously or something. And you just have to look at different possibilities, and then you'll see things from a different point of view. You know, once you use the cards and try to make sense of stuff, and you'll look at things in a different way than you possibly have thought on your own consciously. But you'll just say, oh yeah, that's weird, and you know, like, how would this make sense to your situation? And you could see things that you would have never thought of otherwise, and just explore different options. And based on the abstract information, you kind of make the best objective decisions based on exploring all kinds of different possibilities.
Exactly. That's important. And actually, one of the areas that I highlighted here was a passage. If you let me read it here, if you don't mind. A tarot reading consists of a psychological appraisal of abstract concepts presented in a random order to stimulate the reader's emotions, which allows the reader to identify patterns and develop rational solutions out of incomplete data. It's a method of problem solving and contemplation, just what you said there too. So at its very core, you know, it is that a method, you know, for doing that too. So now we've gotten kind of into the weeds a little bit, which is like what I expected, which is great. So maybe to back up a little bit. So just maybe can you just explain what is the Rota Mundi? What is, what is it? What does that mean, really? Just for someone who's like complete novice, how do I approach this? Why? Yes.
Well, in the original Rosicrucians wrote 3 manifestos, and they were a secret organization and didn't really say who they were or anything, because they lived in a time where it would, you could be persecuted as a heretic and killed for the beliefs, especially in saying that you think the Holy Spirit was a female, because that would go against all the established religion of the time.
Yeah.
So within it, they speak of this oracle that they call the Rota Mundi that they would check with. And they present it as, the Holy Spirit or the Shekinah or the divine feminine that they would go and consult with. And they didn't say it was tarot cards. Eliphas Levi later speculated that they were talking about tarot cards. And from his perspective, other Rosicrucians followed that and started building those philosophies into the tarot, but they're not sure what the actual oracle was that they used. They just called it the Rota Mundi, which within the book, it'll say how Rota, they put it in a circle that Waite did on his Wheel of Fortune card, and Pappas did, and Levi did. And it spells tarot, or it spells Torah, or it spells Rota, which is wheel. And that's why, like on the Rider-Waite deck, they have the Wheel of Fortune card has it, and it's like one of the main cards of the deck that has everything synthesized in it. That's what they considered it being the tarot, is that it's Torah spelled backwards, which Hebrews read from left to right, or from right to left, and English is read from left to right. So you'd read it as a tarot. So they had that oracle that they used, and Mundi is world, but together it translates as Wheel of Fortune. So it's like divination or the Wheel of Fortune, and that's what built into the tarot. So it's basically the tarot from the Rosicrucian perspective, or the occult chain. Instead of just using it for divination, they used it as divination, but it had like mysticism embedded into it.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, it's you go into a little bit of history with that, and that when I first saw the proposal, and it's like, oh, just the imagination just goes in different directions, and it gets really exciting to delve into those different areas too. Yeah. I love how you do, even going into again, like I said, we could have different discussions. Like we do one on just the chemical wedding, we do one on just alchemy, and then tarot, and then even just Kabbalah. I mean, we haven't even touched on that basically. So you go into the difference between Jewish Kabbalah and Christian Kabbalah, with a K or a C, those different areas as well. So there's, I will return to this again and again in my own studies for sure. So, so for yourself then, with your own process, like what do you decide to really focus on, for yourself? Like what, so you went from the alchemistic woodcut tarot and into this, and then, what's your creative process like?
Well, it's just what's interesting me at the time, that it's, this deck is the product of lots of contemplation over years, that I just gather information as I'm going and then consolidate it all at some point. So what I've been looking at mostly, like I was talking about you earlier, or talking with you about earlier, was I'm looking more into the Hebrew letters and everything like that. So I study Hebrew, and there's so much information in it, and then all the Gematria that they add up everything and find little significance. I mean, it's something that I enjoy, because you could explore anything forever, on looking at all the different comparisons and stuff.
I mean, you go into the tables and things, and again, I'm like going through this, like, okay, I gotta go back to that. I have to go back to that, and then so they're
because they all have numbers associated with the Hebrew letters. So just like if you got one word in Hebrew, you could get the value of that word on what it's, like the name of God is 26, and then you add the 2 and the 6 together, and it equals 8. So you could look up any other Hebrew word that has a value of 26 or a value of 8, and then you can compare, how they relate to each other. And it's like on on the card going around it.
Yeah.
So these little, we'll get it on there. Around the top, that's got the Hebrew letters.
Yes.
So at the top it says Ish, and then the other one says Isha, which is male and female. Or husband and wife. So it's talking about the union of opposites. But then on the horizontal, like bars of the cross, it has oneg, which means like joy. Like after a worship service, they'll have like an oneg where people get together. It's like a socializing thing. And it is spelled with the same Hebrew letters as the word on the other side, which is naga, which is like infliction or lesion or plague. So that's what they did with the Kabbalah, is to look at words like that, and you have the same value of the words can mean either pleasure or plague, or like good and evil, depending on how you use those attributes and where you are in the balance of it. So you'll look at words that have the same value and compare them together and see how they're related to each other. And like within the Kabbalah, they have the different pillars of like contemplation and action, or justice and mercy, and finding the right balance of should criminals get put into jail, or should criminals get rehabilitated, or how do you deal with all of society's problems, and how do you treat people? So, I mean, everything is finding the balance of any concept. And so it's just, that's kind of like what I look at is, I like the gematria of looking at words and just finding the meanings of them, and then comparing them to the different words that are related to it, and finding symbolism. And you can see that all the different cards in the deck have different symbolism and stuff that people have made, that people put a lot of thought into and embedded all sorts of occult concepts into it. And that's what I like exploring. It's kind of just like art appreciation, but examining alchemical works or religious works, and seeing how they're putting all kinds of like thought and emotion and morals and principles into an image that gives you a feeling and inspires something in you, or influences your decision making or morals. And I mean, that's it, just like understanding the world through contemplating symbolism. And
exactly, that's and that's an area of study that just you can go in so many directions and spend so much time contemplating those different areas. And I remember, as you're talking there, it's like even the back of the card is loaded. So you can just meditate on the back of the card, forget which is incredibly powerful.
And on the card, it's a rose and a cross, and the rose has got the 3 different categories of Hebrew letters from the Sifra Yetzirah, which is the book of formation, which is what started like Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. And orders like the Golden Dawn would use that to make sigils, to make like their magic symbols, to put a word into a symbol that they could concentrate on, or make talismans and stuff on there. So there's a lot of stuff hidden just on the back of that card.
Exactly, just on the back of the card. So it's fantastic, just fantastic. So this is a deck. We have a little time left. Do we want to try and do a little reading here? What question could we ask, I suppose?
Yeah, I don't know. I usually just look at cards, and if I don't have a question, just get something to think about for that day. So I can just get a random card and see what we.
Let's do that then. That's a great.
Okay.
Great way forward.
I got the Seal of Solomon.
Okay.
Which is it's got the Kabbalah on there, and it's the suit of pentacles, and it's showing the different shapes, how they fit onto the Kabbalah, and this has got like the Star of David on how it bridges the top and the bottom. It's got earth, air, fire, and water, which are symbols associated with the triangles and lines through them, and together they form the Seal of Solomon, or the Star of David, was made up of two triangles of the male triangle and the female triangle, or the male and female balanced together. And around it, it's talking about like as above, so below principles, where it says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven, and that the earthly tabernacle is a shadow of the heavenly one. So it's talking about how like our physical worlds are a reflection of the divine, and that they have both the male and female, and you're balancing the above and the low together. And then of course it's got the whole Kabbalah on there, and it's got 6 written in both English on this side and then Hebrew on that side. And the letter Vav is 6 in Hebrew, and it means connection, and how it connects heaven and earth. The first time it's used in the Bible is in the first verse of the Bible, and it's used to connect the words heaven and earth. So that's another example of as above, so below. And the number 6, on the 6th day, God created humans. So it's talking about human. I would look at it as humans are a reflection of God, and that we have the connection, or the Vav, as we're balancing out the male and the female, and earth, air, fire, and water of our physical existence and our spiritual existence. And that's what I'd be looking at, is trying to have it, how to find balance that day. And also on there, it's got El Shaddai, which would be like God Almighty, and then it says Adonai, which means master in Hebrew, and then it's got the Kabbalah.
Wow. And so again, that you just illustrated how powerful these cards are with just one messaging on one card too.
And that's just on an explanation of the symbolism. So
I know.
If we had a question, then you'd have to apply that symbolism to that day, So if you look at whatever your question could be, you could look at it and you might say, oh, the 6, and be like something about a man or a human, or remember your humanity when you're seeing something. Or it could be like, you could focus on the Vav and connection, and being like, all right, we got to remember that we got to treat people, that we're all humans and we're all connected. I mean, that's what I'm getting from this card right now, is just the connection aspects of it, of finding the divine within us, or our connections with other humans, and the balance of male and female, which is on the back of the card too, or good and evil, pleasure and plague, all that, of just finding our balance, and maybe even wholeness, of feel complete today. Do what you want to do to feel complete.
Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, that's more necessary than ever, as well. And to get that out of one card, I know there's a treatment of the Celtic cross in there as well. Geez, you could spend hours on hours diving into just more like 2 cards, even just 2 cards. That's a lot to really dive into and get out of too. So I thank you for that. So I've gotten something out of that. 6 is my birth number, so for me that resonates there. So wow, thank you. The free reading, awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And like you said, you compare 2 cards together, and you get all these concepts all together, and then that's not even applying the metaphor to your question yet. So exactly. if you have the background information of, I've been having this trouble at work, or this person's been saying this thing, and how do I deal with this person? Then you could look at this for answers, and you might look at, well, you got the male and female, they need to be in balance, and you might apply that to, you got to figure out where your place is with your boss, that somebody's the higher pyramid, and make sure that you're finding the right balance and not be overstepping or something, or not living up to your expectations, but find the right balance, So, I mean, all kinds of stuff. You could look at Adam, that Adam was created on the 6th day to tend to the garden. And how did he do it? What did he do? And he went and ate the apple and his boss wasn't looking. So, so figure it out. Wow. There's so much symbolism that try to find and make sense of.
Right.
So I mean, if people will share with you what their questions are and their background information, then I mean, together it's good to explore things and, could come up with unique outside of the box thinking. And I mean, I think that just reading tarot has helped me to develop my problem solving skills, because it forces you to think outside the box and to look for explanations that aren't, that aren't to be found, that there isn't a textbook answer for. And that's what I'm trying to keep it away from dogma. This is what this card means, but have people see that, hey, you could figure out the answer for yourself is what this is all about. It's turning on your brain and using your mind and your intuition and letting everything flow so that you could come up with something that hasn't been done before and see something that you didn't think of to come up with some genius explanation or way to solve your problem.
Right, exactly. And that's you really do, that's throughout the book, that you make that very clear, and it's incredibly helpful to have that perspective, on the tarot for anyone who wants to get into it, there and explore for their own sakes and for their own, growth, really. So that's what it's all about, and this will help people to do that, just plain and simple. It really will. So what's next for you? What's next for you, Daniel? What lies ahead?
Same stuff I'm always doing. I'm going to keep on exploring these things and working on different mystical projects and trying to understand everything and help other people to see what I want to help people to get what I got out of all of this stuff, and share, helping people to open up their minds and to see things for themselves and unlock their own creativity and help them to explore the world and figure out where they're at on their path, on their, I don't want to be like a guru and say this is how to do things, but I want to show people what my experiences was like, and I found that this works, and let people see, hey, which parts of these things can I incorporate into my own, spiritual process to make life more enjoyable, as we all work together in humanity to fix the world.
Exactly. And that's really the true calling of spirit. And so, blessings to you for what you're trying to do and the reason you're doing it, as well. So now if people want to interact with you, how would be the best for people to interact with you? Social media, or, emailing, or website, or how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, I've got my website is dwellwithprudence.com, and it's got my email address on there, or you could get me on Facebook or something, and I'm always open to interact with people and talk about this stuff because I love this stuff. So that's basically is.
You can tell, and that really comes from you. Thank you. Well, thank you, Daniel, for thanks everybody who tuned in here today. It was really great. I got a lot out of it. I'm going to go back to the book again now that I finished, and go back again to it, and maybe do a 1-card reading, maybe, and then it'll last me for a day. The Rota Mundi Tarot is available on REDFeather.com, wherever Mind by Spirit items are sold. Trade items are sold wherever you want to get it. You can get it. Thanks to everybody who's here, and have a beautiful day. Thanks so much.